Hey everyone, Tactics here with a quick guide going through the first boss of Abberus on Mythic difficulty, KAZZARA the Hellforged. Like a lot of early bosses, there isn't going to be a ton here, so this video should be relatively short, but I do think there is still space for you to kind of mess up some of the mechanics and die, unlike a first boss like Aranog we saw in Vault of the Incarnates. In terms of the Mythic difficulty change, the Rays of Anguish, which are the beams that will fixate random players, now will deal a big party hit to the entire raid in Infernal Fusion if they ever touch any of those Molten Scar puddles left behind by rifts themselves when they disappear throughout this fight. This hit on its own, not too punishing. It's not like it's going to insta-wipe you if you mess it up one time. It is still a first boss, but combined with some poor timing overlapping with some of the other abilities, it can definitely kill a few players here. So to get around that, there's kind of two things you need for this boss. The first is just good positioning of where you're dropping off those dread rifts, giving players room and leaving them in open space to be cleared. And then the second is not only good baits, but also good awareness from the players that get the actual rays themselves, as it's very easy to make bad decisions with where you take your raid. Now, let's cover the first one. Let's talk about positioning here. This diagram is kind of what we use to help us out here. So this is where you come into the room. This is the gate towards the rest of the raid for reference. And so these phase drops are basically from the 100 to 80 for P1 here. So there's only 3 rifts. And then from 80 to 60, there's going to be 4 rifts. So that's these P2 drops. From 60 to 40, there's going to be 5 rifts. That's these P3 drops. And then from 40 to 0, you're going to have 6 rifts. And we drop them here and here, respectively. And note, we did actually DPS before we even got the second P1 set of rifts. So we went 1 and then it went 2, starting over here, etc. But this is just kind of a general idea of where you want to put those rifts. And I'll show you boss positioning for this as well when we walk through the little VOD a little bit. Now, when it comes to actual baits and awareness, it's important for players to be on the side of the boss where you are actually dropping the rift. So for example here, I can draw on it if I do something like this. Boom. Okay, so for example here, right, if this is where you want to put your first drops, you can have the entire raid kind of like stacked up in like this area here, right? You have the boss tanking here. And then what's going to happen basically is that you want to make sure that when these actual rays come out, everyone is towards where the rifts already are. And then the 3 people that get assigned rifts, for example, they need to pay attention. This is what I'm talking about, being aware. Let's say this person gets assigned a rift, then you have a person here that gets assigned a rift, and a person here that gets assigned a rift. Now, for this middle person, very easy to cut off this side person by just going straight to this top rift here. In reality, this middle person should go to the middle rift, this bottom person should go to the bottommost rift, this top person should go to the topmost rift, and that would mean that they would never have to cross paths. Similarly, this bottom person could easily screw over one or both of these players by cutting across to do this middle rift or even this top rift. This middle rift is the closest to them, right? But that's not the correct rift for them to soak. They would ideally soak this bottom rift. That would allow this middle person to soak the middle rift, top person to soak the top rift. But as you can see, there's plenty of ways for rift baiters to actually kind of mess with their fellow rift kiters. So it is really important that the people who get the rifts are paying attention. Not only are they baiting it to the right side of the boss here, right? Because if you baited it way over here where you want to be in the future, you'd be messing stuff up for you down the line. So you really want to make sure you're baiting in the right area, but then you're paying attention to the positioning of the other people that get the rays. Going through the boss fight a little bit here. Let's close that. Go through this. Gonna go a little quicker. But as you can see right at the top here, we pull to this corner, we turn the boss, we have the markers just kind of set for like our first set of rifts here. First rifts go out, they drop them over along that wall there, leave a little bit of space. You don't want to leave some space just in case these beams need to go behind or around or anything like that. There's a bit of space between them, there's a bit of space both in front and behind them here. So those lasers, see, immediately split, and you can see there was one person. They're giving each other space, right? There's the middlemost person goes middle. There's someone who's a little bit in front, and he goes all the way around to the side there. And there was someone closer to the back end there, so they went to the furthest back one. And obviously, very easy or much easier on this 3 set of rifts. It can get much scarier during when you have, you know, the 4, 5, or even 6 rifts, right? And as you're going to see here, so this is transition to P2. Basically, we push below 80%, so we have the entire raid kind of moving over slightly towards this door now. So we're dropping our 4 rifts there. As you can see, we want to leave a little bit of space, and we're going to turn the boss, and we're going to walk towards the gate now, because now we're going to be dropping fourth set, and then, you know, our 5 set of rifts, our 5 set of rifts. We're just going to be constantly walking the boss down the path here. Rays are going to come out. They're going to go find their respective spots. You can see we got 4 lasers trying their best not to kite over anything. We might have had like 1 detonation go off there. Actually, didn't quite see, but as you can see, it's not going to be super lethal. Like, you can have a detonation go off here or there. It's not going to be an insta wipe or anything like that. Your real problem is if you like make a big mistake with where you're baiting or your rift or your rays are kited rather, and you have like a bunch of detonations going off here. Again, we're just slowly moving forward. The next 4 rifts go down, the beams go out, and you can see here people are going to be soaking. We have 2 go to 1 here, so that's not ideal. So we're going to get a detonation, but we left enough space that they can actually go around. As you can see here, we have enough space between the rifts, and that's important too, right? Positioning of those rifts. You don't want them clustered right up against a previous puddle, because if something ever happens, like what just happened, and that player would have to kite through an entire line of puddles, that would be very, very bad, right? But we left enough space between the previous rift puddle and the new rift drop that a player could go behind and kite through them if needed. That's also a very, very good note. And then eventually we are going to swap here once we push below 40%. That's our cue to swap sides again. So you're going to see here, there's the Hellsail Carnage. So what's going to happen now is basically tanks are going to turn the boss again. The raids are going to run through, and they're going to start using this wall for space. So see tanks turning the boss here. We're going to get our set of 6 rifts coming out in a second, and we're going to drop that off on the absolutely clear place. Right, look at this. We have absolutely no puddles anywhere on this half of the room, and that's very, very important. We try and cluster them on the one half of the rooms, that when you have these 6 rifts, it's going to be very chaotic, but you have so much space that you should have a lot of just time to work with your beam if you need to kite it for whatever reason, right? So, you know, here's the big rays coming out, and they're just kind of going, and they're trying to give each other space. I think one person has to kind of go all the way around a little bit. But the pulsing damage, you know, we definitely had a pulse go off from the puddles, but because we had so much space, it's not actually a huge deal here, and we were able to actually get it through relatively quickly without too much raid damage going out. Similarly, next set of rifts, we drop right behind it. Again, like I said, we basically got pushed 1 set of rifts upwards. So we got 2 set of 6 here. And because we had so much space, we could put it here. And then we have another set of 6 at the end where we just put towards the sides by the magma and just keep hitting the boss. Basically, the fight just kind of repeats, right? You just go here, you get more rifts as you go on. As she gets lower health, the pulsing damage from the boss becomes more frequent, that kind of thing. So it is pretty hectic at the end here when you have these 6 rifts soak. But hopefully you guys are able to get it done with this little guide, tip, whatever you want to call it here. That's all for it though. Hopefully this does help you guys out. If it did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content like it. Got the heroic Sarkareth guide coming out, got other mythic boss guides coming out, so keep an eye out for all of those. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them down in the comments below. And if you want to watch me stream all of my progress, I do it over on my Twitch at Tactics. I also need to give a massive shout out, of course, to all of my supporters over on Patreon. Really means a lot to me. And of course, thanks everyone so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.